Hello, and welcome to my new video series. It's what is or what are. So let me give you some background on why I decided to do this video, what is Worbla. So I do a lot of conventions, craft shows, events with my stuff, and I'll have them all displayed out. And people ask, is this all made out of clay? I said, no, these are, these characters are made out of clay. I've got some felted wool ones over here, and then I have these larger pieces, like this swamp thing, are made out of Worbla. And it never fails, almost everybody asks, what is Worbla? So, what is Worbla? Worbla is a brand of thermoplastic. Now, thermoplastic is a type of plastic you can heat up with a heat gun, and then shape it. Now, I use usually 3 different methods for sculpting with Worbla. And so I'll show you those in a little bit. First, I want to show you how Worbla comes. I order all my Worbla from cosplaysupplies.com. This is not a sponsored video. I just wanted to let you know where I get it from. And I will put a link in the description below. This is a medium piece. I think it runs about $36 or $38. So, wait a second. Knocked my mic off. Okay, we're gonna try this again. We're not doing a second take. So, as you saw, it is rolled up. And so, here is a medium piece of Worbla. I don't really know how much I used on this guy. I know he took me about 40 hours to sculpt. He is sculpted over a mannequin head, but I'm gonna do kind of a creation spotlight on him later in a different video. So right now, I just wanna go down, show you some different techniques with Worbla, and then after that, I will show you some of the things I've made with Worbla. So let's head down to the art table and we'll get started. Alright, now we're down to the art table, and so I started to build a wire and foil armature for my sculpture. I'm going to make a plant monster. So I built that up first, and then once I have that done, I will start heating up the Worbla. So I have the roll of Worbla, and I use my heat gun to heat it up so I can cut it into a more manageable size piece. Now please make sure, anytime you use a heat gun or any power tools, to take all the safety precautions you can. I do run my heat gun at the lowest temp. There's 2 settings on it, so I don't really have any problems using it with bare hands, but that doesn't mean you won't. So please be cautious whenever you work with any power tools. Technique number 1, covering a sculpture. This technique is used anytime you want to cover a sculpture you made, like this wire and foil sculpture, or like I did with the swamp thing where I put it over mannequin sculpture. But I did adjust that sculpture, added some foam and some, made some changes to it before I started adding that. So as you can see here, I'm going to heat up the Worbla, wrap it around the sculpture. You will need to heat it up several times to get it to shape, around that sculpture like you want. And don't worry about little seam lines, you can kind of smooth those out as you go. So we'll go ahead and get this completely covered, and we'll go from there. Now that I have the body and the head covered with Worbla, I'm going to attach the 2 pieces. And to do that, I just heat up both ends and then press them together. And once the Worbla cools, they'll be attached, and usually they're pretty solid. Now the last part of this technique is to smooth out the edges. As you saw, I was adding individual pieces, and you're going to have a kind of a seam line there. Well, you can continue to heat up the Worbla and smooth those out either with your hands or with a tool like I am doing here. So really this is kind of up to you on how much you want to smooth it out. You can cover those up some when you paint it, and do some extra coats of the primer. But it's smooth. I mean, if you want it to be a really smooth piece, it's best to do it during this process. Technique number 2 is draw and cut. for my plant monster, I wanted to have some leaves behind his head sticking out, kind of like a lion's mane. So I took a piece of Worbla and started drawing out my leaves. I decided to go with 6 and just kind of have them going around. Now this draw and cut technique works really well for anything that's going to be a thinner piece, you know, like the leaves on here, or if you wanted to do like a dragon with wings and you want to do the webbing in between, you know, stuff like that. It also works, you know, if you wanted to draw something out and you wanted to have it like a symbol on top of a shirt, and you want to draw it out like if you're going to do like the bat symbol, which you'll see in one of my Worbla projects at the end. I did a Deadpool Batman, and I did kind of a bat symbol that I drew out and, you know, cut out and put it on top, and so that makes it stand out. So any kind of piece that you want it to look a certain way and it doesn't have to be too thick, this technique works really well. So once I get the rest of these cut out, I'll go ahead and add a crease down the middle with a tool. This, you know, kind of metal pin tool that I use a lot with my clay sculpting, but also works very well here. So I add kind of a crease, and while it's still warm, I turn it inwards, kind of like, you know, you would see like a leaf, which could be turned inwards or outwards, just depends on how the leaf is. I went ahead and put down some wax paper. I was having some problems with the Worbla sticking to this cardboard. I usually sculpt Worbla over cardboard and haven't had an issue, but this one must have a different coating or texture to it that the Worbla is sticking to. So just for the leaves, since they're just flat against it, I went ahead and did the wax paper so they're easier to peel off. Alright, the last leaf is getting finished up here. Now once that's done, I will heat up the ends of it, ends of each leaf I should say, and attach them to the head of the plant monster. As you see here, that worked out pretty well. You have to kind of watch it though, it will droop some. And so you have to hold it in a certain way, so you know, until it cools down. Once it cools down, that'll be a solid piece of plastic. You don't have to worry about it drooping. It's only going to droop, you know, when it still has a lot of the temperature in it from the heat gun. Alright, let's finish this step up and we'll go to the third technique. Technique number 3, sculpting scraps. Now when you're making something out of Worbla and you know, trim it down and everything, you're gonna have a lot of scraps from Worbla. What's great about Worbla is you can melt these scraps down and sculpt with them like you would with clay. So for our plant monster, I took a bunch of scraps, I trim them down to, you know, even smaller, and I'm heating them up and making thorns. I thought it'd be really cool to, you know, make them look a little more dangerous, to have these thorns up and down the stem of the plant monster. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and finish up these thorns and we'll go from there. Alright, I have a bunch of the thorns made up. I let them cool. Now I'm going to heat up the actual plant. And when I do this, then I can shove the thorns into the plant and it makes kind of an indentation. And I like this look. It seems more natural of how the thorn would look on the plant instead of heating up, you know, the end of the thorn and sticking on and having it stick out more. This way it's kind of embedded a little bit deeper into it. Alright, so here's the finished plant monster. I did do the draw technique to make his mouth, do the little teeth that are sticking out there. And I also did the sculpt technique to add some areas that would imply his eyes. I'm not going to paint eyes on him, but I kind of want him to give that impression of having those eyes to make him a little more evil looking. Hopefully you found this video informative and you have a little better understanding of what Worbla is. If you have any questions about what If you have any other questions about what is Worbla, please leave them down in the comments below. Alright, and now let's take a look at some of the other things I've made with Worbla. Well, thank you for watching this week's video. If you liked this video, please give it a like down below. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and never stop creating. Bye.